So, are you tired of wrestling with complex, completely fragmented AI integrations? Honestly, it just shouldn't be that hard. And here's the secret. Every single Claude-powered product you use, whether it's a chatbot, a document analyzer, or a coding assistant, they literally all run on just one single endpoint, the Messages API. Welcome to this explainer. If your main goal is to actually build powerful applications with Claude, mastering this fundamental interface is exactly where we need to start.
Okay, here is the absolute key statistic I want you to remember today. Just one endpoint, one single post request. That is absolutely all it takes to send a conversation to Claude and get an incredibly intelligent response right back. And what's truly wild here is that the entire API service for basic usage, it fits into exactly 6 lines of Python. That's it. That is literally all you need to start building.
All right, section 1, the single endpoint and how it works.
So Anthropic's primary REST interface operates on a super simple premise. You send an array of messages, and the model generates the next reply. But there are 3 defining traits you really need to grasp here. First up, it is completely stateless. Anthropic servers remember absolutely nothing between your calls. 0. Second, it's structured. Every message you send is a clean JSON object with a designated role, like user or assistant. And of course, the content. And hey, that content doesn't just have to be plain text. It can be images or even tool call blocks, all bundled seamlessly into the exact same request. And finally, it's highly accessible. You can post directly to the API URL yourself or just use an official SDK for Python or TypeScript. They handle all that complex header and authentication stuff for you.
Setting this whole thing up is just incredibly straightforward. Step 1, you just create your developer account over at the Anthropic console. Step 2, add your billing. And a quick aside here, keep in mind that API access is pay-as-you-go, so it's completely separate from any Claude.ai consumer subscription you might already have. Step 3, generate your unique API key. And step 4, literally just run pip install Anthropic in your terminal. Boom! You are officially ready to code.
Moving on to section 2, anatomy of a request. What you send versus what you receive.
Understanding the exact data moving back and forth here is absolutely crucial. When you make your post request, you're sending over your JSON model, specification, your max tokens limit, any system instructions you might have, and your array of alternating user and assistant messages. In return, what you get back is the text content generated by Claude, a specific stop reason telling you why it stopped generating, and precise token usage statistics for both your input and output. It is just a remarkably clean exchange.
Now, listen up, because here is a massive warning for all you developers out there. Absolutely no history is stored on Anthropic servers. None. You have to resend all prior conversation turns every single time you make a request. If you don't do this, Claude effectively has total amnesia.
Which brings us right to section 3, the stateless trap and losing context.
Let's look at a real-world scenario. Imagine you're building a tutoring application, right? A student has been talking to Claude for a while, and then they ask this follow-up question. Can you explain the light-dependent reactions in more detail? Now, think about that for a second. On its own, in a vacuum, what does that actually mean? Light-dependent reactions in chemistry? In physics? In biology?
And here is the trap. If you just send that single, isolated message over to the Messages API, Claude has absolutely no idea you're talking about photosynthesis. It pales. The core insight here is that because the API is completely stateless, you, the developer, must manually maintain a list of the conversation and pass the whole thing in on every single call. If Claude sees both the prior conversational turns about plant biology plus the new question together, it answers specifically and accurately about photosynthesis. But if you send it alone, that context is entirely lost.
Okay, section 4, choosing the right API and when to use what.
Efficiency is a huge deal when you're routing your requests. You're going to want to use the standard Messages API for real-time synchronous responses. Think things like live chatbots, IDE plugins that answer questions about a file you're currently working on, or really any user-facing tool where latency is totally critical. But say you have a massive volume of non-time sensitive work, like maybe you need to classify 50,000 product reviews overnight. For that, you absolutely should switch to the Message Batches API. It gives you asynchronous delayed results, but get this, it is 50% cheaper. Oh, and before you commit to a massive generation run, you can use the token counting API. It takes the exact same payload shape and gives you a pre-flight exact input token count so you can easily verify your rate limits or estimate your costs before spending a single dime.
There's also one more really powerful option for enterprise users. If your organization requires strict IAM-based authentication or you need to consolidate your billing through Amazon, you can use AWS Bedrock. And the real beauty of this route is that it uses the exact same messages API shape. That means you don't have to make any changes to your underlying request structure. It's totally seamless.
All right, Section 5. Master the foundation, the golden rule.
If you take away just one fundamental key takeaway from this entire explainer, please let it be this. Your application is the memory. Because the Messages API is stateless by design, every single request is completely self-contained. You send the full conversation, Claude generates the next turn, you store it, and you move on. Once you truly master this core architectural pattern, literally everything else, adding images, utilizing tool use, asking for structured output, it all just effortlessly layers right on top of this exact same foundation.
Before we wrap this up, let me give you one highly practical tip that is going to save you so much debugging time. Always check the stop reason field on every single response you receive. If that field says max tokens instead of end turn, it simply means Claude's response was artificially cut off by your settings. You just need to go in and raise that limit.
To see fully worked examples of everything we've talked about today, including exactly how to avoid those common pitfalls we just covered, head over to claudemaster.net and grab the Claude Master ebook. You've seen firsthand just how simple and elegant this single endpoint is. But you know, the real magic happens when you start thoughtfully building that memory into your own applications. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you actually hold the keys to Claude's foundation, what exactly are you going to build first?